Yate.
Yat Eshla.
Amoso. Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us this evening. And thank you, Wisdom Circle attendees, this evening for joining us for a special hour with the one and only Shonto Begay. And we consider him to be our living legend. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we get started, I would like to talk about the intention of acknowledging the ancestors from everyone where you're coming from, the original peoples of the land, the caretakers, the ancestors, and that's the way we like to talk. We like to think about honoring our ancestors, Mother Earth, Father Sky, the holy beings, all that. Some of us know a little bit, some of us know more, but nonetheless, that's who we are as indigenous people. So thank you to the Ogapoge Awinge, the Pueblo lands, for having us here as visitors on the lands that you have been stewarding for thousands of years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This evening we have a special guest, Shonto Begay. Shonto Begay is Diné. We also call ourselves Navajos. And Shonto is from the Navajo Nation, and I'm going to let him talk about his how Navajos identify themselves, and then maybe if Shonto can kindly interpret that into English, that would be nice. Yeah, welcome, Shonto. Yeah.
Ahehla Oshla. Shonto Yinishiye. Shonto Hode Nasha. Podichi the Ain Shlido, a she was a sheen. The clan that should shade us at Najini, the Shinala. I could add an enshla. Can Shanahod ye the record dog or sleep be yard, a cash. Other Shazado should not esh in Gita other hati. I told the Zimithatas, it asked that in the yin had long. So, hello, my name is Shonto Begay. I am Diné. My clan is Bitterwater because my mother is Bitterwater and our clan system is matrilineal. So everything is traveled through the mother. You trace your ancestry through the mother. So I am Bitterwater, Tudichini, which is what I am and always will be. The father's clan is always acknowledged as well, which is a she, Salt clan, my father's Salt clan. And my maternal grandfather would be many goats. My paternal grandfather, Sitnajini, black streak across forehead. These are the one I that completes me. I'm from the community of Shonto, northern part of Arizona, the northern part of the reservation, Navajo Nation. That's where I come from, and I'm an artist. I live here in Flagstaff, and I moved here to defend and also to give voice to our sacred mountain of the West. Some people call it San Francisco Peaks. We call it Loko Sleed. Is my voice carrying?
Oh, Njoni, yeah, Njono Yamske, yeah, keep talking. It's beautiful.
Sometimes I wonder because so anyway, I don't know what exactly where to start, but
Okay,
you can prompt me at points.
I
But
sure will.
but I'm looking forward to going out to Santa Fe to be with the my fellow makers again this weekend, and it's always a joy to see them, to be among them, to give kinship, because it seems like every year, we're getting lesser and lesser. So we have to value and treasure the ones that were still with us. So that's one of the reasons I enjoy going to Indian market. And aside from an income generating event, it's also very very social connection to the past, to the future.
Yes.
The young artist that's coming up, I'm always excited to see new works, new interpretation, new expressions, and there is so much expressions to be shared. And so I'm happy to be part of that. And I'm happy to be kind of a pioneer to that in this manner. Um, I went to the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe there in the 1970s, and so that's where I honed my early skills. And of course, later on, I ended up at the California College of the Arts in Oakland, California, and I graduated with a degree in art history and minored in drawings, and somehow got into painting because right now I feel like the paintings I do really are drawings. So I see my work more in an illustrative manner. Yeah, so that's how I like to express my work, and the way my work and the way that I paint is sort of a kind of a neo impressionism. You know, set in my own world through my own lens that I was born with into the culture of both the new and the old culture, my culture, and also the newness that I was thrusted into through the boarding school situation. And that's another thing. Also a survivor of the residential boarding schools, and you know, it is it's a hard part of my life. I believe separation, incarceration, in quotation, in colonization, and all of
Mm,
that. But I took the best of everything that you taught me. I took the best of that to make to bless myself with,
nice.
because God knows, you know, of the 13 boys or so I grew up with closely, there's not many of us left. You know, just a lot of traumas that occurred through those years. And through those years, I've always considered what I do as an artist, as a visionary, as a creator, of saving my life. That's why in my travels, in my talks, I always speak about art saving lives. And art save lives is the banner that I work under.
Mm. Well, I love your intro. Thank you very much. You've actually answered a lot of the questions that I was going to begin with, starting about. I kind of want it to go like into the second quarter of your life as a young boy becoming a man, leaving the reservation and all of that behind, and first coming into Santa Fe to the Institute of American Indian Arts. As you could still say, you may be still young in the mind. What did that experience do for you? Because I'm thinking about, I know you were raised traditional with your grandparents and your parents, and that beautiful philosophy of sheep herding and survival, and just making a world and a beautiful world out of that. That really is people. A lot of people don't understand what sheep and sheep herding and weaving and darning and plants and dyeing and all of that means to the people that have become the best of the best in doing all that. So when you know all that, and then you go to boarding school, and then you know that, and then you release from that, and then you go into an art school that's about expression, that's encouraging indigenous thought and creativity. Can you talk to us about a young man coming into Santa Fe at that time? What was it like compared to now?
Well, I was a young young man on the reservation. Went through schools on the reservation, some various boarding schools. Somehow in high school, I lost my focus. Not because I didn't know how to study. It was just easy for some reason. I mean, it was just easy, and I was bored. So I started wandering off in my thoughts and wandering off physically. And so the school couldn't keep me. And every year it seemed like, I was discharged early. Every year I went on an early sabbatical, usually in May, early May. Why didn't I do that? I said in October or earlier. But I was a rebel, and as such, I was also kind of like a Pied Piper because I had a few friends who I supposedly led astray, but they're doing well now. But I just couldn't stay focused in school. I just couldn't stay focused in school because my mind was elsewhere. Fortunately, in Kayenta and Monument Valley High School, which I was attending at the time, after I was kicked out a few times, my high school art teacher, the great Mr. Phil Balone, who I always credit, Phil, and another teacher, um, Sally Ann, two teachers, one art teacher and one English writing composition teacher. They convinced me that I didn't belong in that school. I belong in a different school that can cater to my interests, that can allow me to grow. So they contact the Institute of American Indian Arts without my knowledge, with no doing on my part. They sent in applications for me, and the school sent me a little test to draw three items: a shoe, a bicycle, and something of nature, which I whipped out, sent it back, and I got accepted. So 1973, on a Greyhound bus, I ended up in the middle of the night in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I had no idea where this place was. No idea. Because my world, I was very provincial. In northern Arizona, my whole universe, my whole world was bound by my horizon. Black Mesa to
Yeah.
the west, Black Mesa, uh, uh, the Sagi Uplift, the Shonto Plateau, all of those. That was my whole world. And then, of course, I broke out of that and ended up at the Institute. And there, I was in a very creative environment, students of all tribes, from all over. And that was another culture shock. And I had no idea what was what. So, but I nearly left again because I was restless. But I just stayed in, and again uh, found some really amazing instructors and teachers that kept me going, adult counselors that kept me going, and all this time I was practicing that again of staying sane and staying alive by creating my own world,
Mm.
my own reality, where I can create, where I can be a hero, where I can be a villain, where I can be all of those safely, create my own story, narratives. So that's what I started doing in there, and eventually I graduated with the Associate of Fine Arts from IAIA. And even then, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I was just kind of rounded in certain manners and writing. I love writing. I was writing
Mhm.
at the time a little bit. I was drawing primarily. I wasn't painting. I was drawing graphic, and I was reading, and I was always looking beyond my horizon. So
Mm.
yeah, so I ended up after that. I just ended up elsewhere, going elsewhere, living other places again. But
Mm.
coming to Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the middle of the night, it was a culture shock again. Um, I ended up in a dormitory there with students who I couldn't speak to in my own language. So so there was a little strife, but I survived that. I learned a lot from that, and of course, Santa Fe at the time was a lot smaller. We
Mm.
we still had a drive-in theater, and the whole city seemed to have ended right there before you get to Rodeo Road. And so, and you still have to run around and find a payphone.
I remember that.
So that's where I ended up, and I went to school there. I guess I learned to enjoy being there. I ended up staying there for about 2 3 years or 2 years. I was, and the third year I enrolled in this College of Santa Fe,
Mm, yeah,
just
I
a
remember.
few blocks down the road, and I was taking courses there, and I became a student there. I became enrolled there, and I was living there. So I was going to two colleges, IAIA in the College of Santa Fe, and I was on foot, so I was running between classes, and there was pretty much a dedication. I enjoyed that too. I enjoyed doing things that I normally wouldn't probably be doing. It was like conquering something within, slaying something within that's holding you back. You just go ahead and do
Mm,
it. So that's what
yeah.
I did. That's what I did, and I started painting a little bit,
Hmm.
and I was on foot.
Hmm.
And I remembered I did two paintings, kind of large painting. There was a passable. It was good. Different grandmother and grandfather, I believe it was. I remember the very first painting I did. The grandmother and grandfather. The grandmother sitting on a chair. The grandfather standing over her, and the whole background is kind of very very kind of dark.
Hmm.
And it was a nice image.
Hmm.
And so I sold that. I sold that. The first painting I did. In fact, I offered it to local um, car salespeople, car
Mm,
lot. I went there. I mean, I had chutzpah. I went there and I said, "Hey, I need a car. I am on foot. I'm on two colleges. I'm running back and forth. I want to be a good student. I want to make something of my life, but I'm on foot." So I must have brought my case to them pretty good because the managers and the salespeople got together and they stood around. They came back to me and said, "Okay,
wow.
we'll take the painting. Here's a car." Got my, I got my first car. I remember 1970 Ford Maverick.
Okay,
It was wonderful. That took me all the way to that gave me wings.
that's
That gave me
right.
wings. So that was my first major sales. I was doing everything. I was doing things I enjoy, you know, creatively to make money. I made some nice little Hallmark cards for the company, and every month, a big RV will come by and collect my little drawings, and they paid me in cash, and that was
Oh,
wow. It was just a
that's
little
inspiring.
entrepreneurship, little thing at a time. So, and I did that, and at the time, I became friends with the 8 track was a big thing then. 8 track tapes. I
Oh
remember how
yeah, I
8 track
remember
tapes.
that. Oh yeah,
You have to take it
love
there.
those.
You always have to have a little match book, to get it going. But when that was broken, I became a fixer. I said, I announced myself. Uh, I'm going to fix 8 tracks for people. A lot of kids, a lot of native students, listen to 8 tracks, and some of them they get all messed up
Play
and
it
they
over. Yeah.
toss it away or something like that. I said, no, I can fix it for you for $5. Hey, again, get the new one. But for $5, so again, I was a little business. And that was wonderful because I know how to do things like that. And so I graduated from IAIA that year, 1975, 76, I believe. And I just decided it was time to move on.
Hmm.
So with my associate degree tucked in my belt, I got in my car and pointed my hood ornaments north
Mm.
to Wyoming. I ended up there for on and off for a number of years, and it was wonderful. Those were wonderful years running on the plains. And then I got restless again, and then I ended up driving to the west. I said, I'm going to just follow the sun,
Mm.
and I just drove and drove and drove until there was no more land. I ended up in San Francisco Bay Area again. I had no idea how to live in a city. No idea how to live in a city. Traffic signs, traffic rules, tickets. I had no idea.
Mm.
But it was again a sense of adventure, like a walkabout of some kind or another. So I did. I just went into that where a couple of times, driving into Sacramento over the Sierras, I thought, nope, I gotta go. I've had enough. I should just turn my car around and go home. The sheepdogs are missing me. I need fried bread. But I kept going again. I couldn't. I just couldn't exit. I couldn't find. I was always in the wrong lane. I ended up in the Bay Area, and so I ended up there. There was a whole new culture shock. There was a
Oh,
whole
I'm
new culture shock
sure.
completely. And I wrote a piece on that some years ago for a local paper. But it was but I enrolled in the College of the Arts. At the time, it was called the California College of Arts and Crafts in Oakland. A beautiful campus, a beautiful college, a wonderful staff, and just a great teaching environment. I ended up there and met a wonderful lady and got married. We had kids.
Hmm.
We had the
Hmm.
first child there, and I ended up living there. And I got my bachelor of the fine arts from there. And to make a long story short, of course, I ended up living there about 5 6 years, and then we moved back when I got a job with the National Park Service at Navajo National Monument in northern Arizona, near my home, near where I grew up. Navajo National Monument. That's why I ended up not. Things could not have worked out better. Oh my God!
Wow.
So it was almost like it was the prayers and the blessings, the songs and the chants and the beautiful willing of the great spirits of the of kindness that brought me back home. That my elders, you know, spoke that brought me back home, back to the sheep
Oh,
camp where I could still draw and do my art, where I had a job. You know, my mother's close, my parents are close. The sheep were there, and I had a job where I don't have to worry about what kind of clothes to wear every day. I was wearing a
oh,
uniform. So,
nice.
so it was a series of good choices. You just a lot of time was just guessworks. I know
Yeah, of course.
a lot of people have these days have life coaches. They have life guides. I just guess my way. I guess it'll be good for me.
So
And
you
of
brought
course,
that woman with you too, and started a
yeah,
family on the
yeah,
res.
yeah, Cruz. No, she was in her master's program in Berkeley, UC.
Mm, okay.
Eventually got her doctorate.
Oh,
So yeah, so we moved back, and eventually had 4 kids. They lived close to their grandparents, and the mutton feasts and all the tribal
nice.
fairs and the summer ceremonies. So they were raised. They were raised in just a beautiful areas, and beautiful areas, and the culture embraced by the culture. Um, of course, being a Park Service ranger, also beautiful spaces.
Hmm.
Cherished areas, and the creed of the Park Service has always been the same. That align with my own, our own, that of preserving, protecting the land for generations hence. So that's a lot of things just kind of sync together, and never shying away from things that from things, from adventures, and
Wow.
that's what that's how it started really. And up to
So,
that point, up to the point of the National Park Service ranger, I had all this art knowledge behind me. I knew how to draw, but I was not really starting to practice. I was not really starting to practice. I was just a reading, and I was doing my job protecting the land.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, as an artist, did you? I mean, I feel like that was always inside of you on some level, even maybe through that forest ranger experience, just to expand the responsibility not only to the land, but thinking about as an artist, is there any responsibility feeling there? because you're obviously an international role model. I mean, you are unbelievably, like, your work is everywhere. So, like, that painting behind you, is that you? Is that yours?
Oh, that's the a pink
Or
letter.
is that,
Yeah,
is that,
yes.
is that,
Everything, everything's autobiographical in a way,
so that's you back there?
kind of, but not really. It's a part of me.
Okay.
Yes, you know.
So, so
So it
you're,
was all I did. I just like to always say that I paint what I know.
mhm.
I paint what I know and feel. There was even a time when I was traveling and staying in Manhattan, I was doing a series of paintings just on the cityscapes, taxis, it's crowded streets, yellow taxi, and the tall buildings. And that's what at one time I went into that. So it is my art has evolved from drawings. From my first inspiration really was comic books in
Mm,
boarding school. In boarding school earlier, in order to survive, of course, I had to draw. I created my own, like I said, my own world, my own reality. And of course, comic book was a great, uh, just a great media for me. Not only did it tell me stories and made me laugh and gave me all kinds of emotions, but it also taught me how to draw. And I
mm,
remember the very first image I drew was funny ones, sad sack comic.
mm.
That first drawing I did, and I eventually grew into cowboys, superheroes, armies, mountain men. At the time before then, when I was still in grade school, I was drawing mountain men. Like Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone's and stuff like that. And
Oh,
and for some reason, I was really into that, and so I, that was also another way that I really honed my skill, and just not copying, but seeing how the lines are drawn, see how the lines intersect, and how the values of certain line, that certain tones gave images of space, and 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 yeah, it was just a learning. Every chance I get, I do.
wow.
Going
So,
going Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Going
So,
back
go ahead. I want to hear more.
going back to way back when I was still in boarding school. When I was still in boarding school, it was terrible because not only were you always having to do the government's bidding, and also, of course, the overseers, and of course, also on top of that, your own people, the bullies in boarding school, which was plenty. So there's always not very harsh times, from just fellow students. And I learned at an early age that a lot of these big bullies, didn't really have much upstairs. So, and I was really acing tests, and I was doing it very well. And so one day, my buddies, my little friends, were getting harassed, and always seemed that they were always crying, getting beaten up or something. One day, I made a deal with the biggest bully. I said, "Mr. Bully, I'll tell you what. I'll I'll help you with your homework so you can graduate. So you can be, you can be satisfaction in the eye of the teacher." And so he thought about that, and he said, "Well, okay." So of course, homework was fairly easy. So I used to do his homework, their homework, and they were passing. They were doing good in school, and the deal was that they leave me alone and leave my friends alone. They were off limit. So the bullies bullied other kids, but we were safe because I was doing their homework. Later on, I got a little braver and said, "Okay, every homework, every page, you're gonna have to give me 25 cents or something like that." So 25, I started earning money there then too, and said, wow. So the bullies, not only did they not, they leave my friends alone, were also, I was also making a little money for movies and popcorns to take my friends to the Wednesday night movies. So there was a little thing I had going. And it didn't stop there. You know, I was reading magazines. I love magazines. And one of the magazines you probably remember called Boy's Life. It's a Boy Scouting magazine. At the
I remember
very
Archie's Digest.
This is Boy's Life. Is Boy Scout magazine. It's a magazine, and it's full of all kinds of stuff. In the very last page, it's all the humors and comics, little cartoons, and they always said, "Well, if you send in something funny, we'll pay you. We'll pay you." So I said, "Okay, I can. I bet you I can do this." So I did. I wrote a little short story about about something I quite forget about being clumsy at a sheep camp at a ceremony, embarrassing myself, stepping in a pot of mutton stew or something like that, which was really not funny, but somehow it was funny to the rest of the world. And of course, I also drew a couple of cartoons. They loved it. One
Right.
time, and I got a check for $6 from Boy Scouts magazine, the Boys Life magazine, and the teachers, the principal gathered all the students in the gymnasium. I remember, and held up the check and spoke to used it as an inspirational talk about what you can do. And he said, and
Um,
he made me an example of how you can go out and just fearlessly tackle something that you believe you can do and do it. So I'll get paid. I'll get paid from doing that little thing for Boys Life. And of course, I was embarrassed. I was shyest kid you could ever encounter when I was in boarding school. Shy, very, very shy. But I broke out now and then. So that was that. Being put on a stage like that was really you know, anxiety inducing. But looking back on it now, I said, wow, that was those were the fantastic days. Dealing with bullies and getting lauded for having your work published in seventh grade or sixth,
mhm.
fifth grade or something like that.
Right. Right. Well, what I'm feeling is, you had those childhood experiences that were very internal. Like you had your humor, you had your original Navajo teachings about the four sacred mountains and the beauty of having a barante, the sheep camp, and all those. Everything there just has so much meaning, and finding a meaning in just those burned out cars that have really sacred objects in the consoles and the back bumper, and just people get really the Navajo people are the most creative people that I know, because if you give a Navajo artist time into the Canyon de Chelly or on Black Mountain with the most minimal of stuff, something's going to happen. Something creative's going to happen, even just with a little couple of little coins or whatever. I mean, that's how the velvet shirts with the nice, just
Right.
it's just so beautiful how we do all that. But you still have that little boy in you that still gets to go out and play and have fun in your art, and then
Yeah.
but at the same time, now you're a wise man, you're a Che. So you got some wisdom to share with your little ones, your future generations. So that's so
Yeah.
awesome having you on this show, because man, this show is going to be archived into seven generations beyond. So
Hmm.
this is your story. So thank you for being here. So as an artist, do you ever feel like you're alone, or do you feel like your ancestors are with you, come through you, or if you hit a dry spell where you're just like, man, I don't want to paint, I don't want to write, I just do. Whenever those kind of things happen, what do you feel about that?
Well, that's pretty much who I am. Is I'm a loner. Even to this day, I feel most best alone. I live alone, and a lot of time I travel alone. I walk alone, And so I'm a fairly solitary person. In my studio, it's a solitary work. I spend the hours in my studio alone. When I was a little kid, I heard sheep and out there with the sheep alone, just the sheepdogs. So just alone. This is all I've known growing up, and I guess the reason that a lot of us have become such great visionaries and artists is that we grew up without television. We grew up without electricity. We grew up without toys that are manufactured. We constructed our own. We thought all the time of what created games. And so that's what we were always doing. Sheep camp work is hard work, not only with the sheep, but with the crops, with the corn field, wood gathering. It's always working. So we work all day long. In the evening was the only time that we got a chance to settle down. And we had no paper, no pencil. I remember we would place a kerosene lamp on the floor of a dirt hogan floor, of a dirt floor, on a kerosene lamp, and then we draw on the earth. And the way the shadows play on the earth was our marks. I drew a horse on the dirt, and the light of the lamp is what creates it, and it was wonderful. My mother always weaving. My aunt was weaving. My grandmother was weaving. So I grew up to the rhythm of thump 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 thump. That's what I grew up to the rhythm of. So there was always creation going on, creative stories going on, sacred images being done. And my father was a great, well-known medicine man. He was probably the medicine man. He became the youngest medicine man at the age of 21. And
Wow.
he was known far and wide. And but he never flaunted himself. He just always said, I have a job. I have a profession that is not needed. It's not needed because if everybody still had that great healing spirit, a sense of that self, the creative energy within that was given us at birth from the great spirits of the white shell woman, the hero twins, and all of those, if we still held that within us in our own personal dish, we would never be in need of healing or anything like that, of mental or psychological or anything breakdown like that, because we always have that gift of self healing. We have that in
Beautiful.
of us, the prayer within us. But because it was forgotten or left aside because of a lot of distraction, a lot of people don't. They lost that. And so he says, my job is just to coax that, reawaken that within you, and it is your job to
Right.
maintain that
Right.
wellness. And so that is
Take
why,
all
yeah,
take all
that
the
is,
bad stuff out of the way so you can
yeah,
go on your creative journey
that's
spiritually.
that's why the medicine man says, he always says that you never, when you have a ceremony, healing ceremony done on you, you don't thank the medicine man. You don't say thank you. You don't. You never say that. In fact, they discourage that because it is not them that is doing the healing. It is you and your creator. You know, coaxing and said, for you to thank me is to disregard the real power. He's just a conduit through which healing is done. So
That's right.
that's what I grew up with, and on that, I think the very first art I did, the very first image I did was a sand painting, not as a market, not as a what people do today for sales for market. No, for healing.
Wow.
My father, being a medicine man, every once in a while he would be called. A patient would call on him, and he would bring them in at some point on a given day. And beforehand, there'd be a, a, a a special sand that come in, and the sand painters, the four old gentlemen, would sat on all four corners of the mandala, and they would create this great ancient template. the sign, the great, the sand paintings, very complete and very complicated in some manner, full of stories. One day, one day, one of the medicine men, one of the old gentlemen didn't show up because he was sick. So somebody in the sheep camp said, "Hey, there's a kid who can draw here in this sheep camp. Let's get him in." So I was there with the old guys
Wow.
making sand paintings, and I couldn't deviate from what was laid down eons ago. So that first thing I did with the colored earth, creating mandala with three elder gentlemen, purely for healing, to invoke the spirit of healing.
Oh, I love
And
it.
so they're the very first art I did, and because of that, I feel like all the art I've been doing since always have been endowed with healing. The little
Nice.
the tiny strokes I do, the lines I do, the curls I do, the dots I do. I always say that these are the syllables to great prayers, syllables to
Oh,
words, words to sentences, sentences to paragraph, paragraph to great beauty way prayers. Ichi hojonko chetetis is nejoniko ina is ego nana stato sahnari bike hojon hastli. These are the syllables I try to recreate and follow in all of my paintings. And people think I just maybe paint like everybody
no.
else, but it's the
No.
words.
You know what? Nobody thinks you just paint, Shanto. When you show your stuff, it's a stopper. When your stuff is out, it's a stopper because it looks like all of your paintings is very deep conceptual. Even if it's just a cowboy sitting on a on a what do you call it, the corral, there's something in there that's going to invoke some kind of healing, a thought or something. But get show, we're out of time, yeah. So yeah, we're going to do a commercial break, and
Okay.
Elena's gonna, but yeah, thank you. I wanted
Uh,
to ask you a lot of questions, like 37 questions, but you said it all already, so we're good.
okay.
Yeah, Elena's going to do a commercial break. We're going to talk about where to find you at the Indian market and all that. And then we're going to bring your audience in to say hi. And then, it's almost done. Yeah.
Okay. What do you know? Yeah.
Biga.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Shonto, for sharing that incredible wisdom and the beautiful gifts through your work. If you want to go and grab a drink or something, please do. It'll just be 5 minutes because I know
Okay.
there's lots of
Okay.
audience members who want to ask you some questions. But I'm just going to go through what's coming up. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome.
Woo! How is that? Soak that great medicine in of the beautiful Shonto Begay. If this is your first time being here, welcome to the Indigenous Ways Wisdom Circle. We have been doing this. We have been doing this for since April 2020, twice a week. So you just were a part of the beautiful Shonto Begay, sharing some of his processes, wisdom, traditional, of not only himself but how it comes through in his creative processes, and such a blessing, the gifts of healing, healing, healing. So this time next month, so usually we have the third Wednesday of each month for the Wisdom Circle. This month's very special simply because, as Shonto was talking about, it's Indian market in Santa Fe. So Shonto will be here with some of his artwork. So we're going back to our usual time, which is Wednesday, September the 16th. We've got Dr. Tommy Begay, who is also Diné, joining us. He is a research assistant professor of psychiatry at the University of Arizona, culture of medicine. So just having a wonderful conversation, insightful conversation of indigeneity and psychiatry. So if you want to hear more about that, come in next month. If you're not on our newsletter, go to our website, IndigenousWays.org. There you will be able to find not only the incredible archives of over 200 Indigenous, rainbow, deaf and hard of hearing presenters, but you'll be able to access the beautiful Shonto Begay's archived video in there as well, where you might want to share that with your peeps. Yeah, thanks so much for this. This has been possible because of our sponsors. So currently we have the City of Santa Fe Arts and Culture, as well as the National Endowments of the Arts, and looking at the NEA 250. So we're very grateful in the funding, making it possible, keeping the accessibility happening, having free programs, and also our ASL interpreters, making access available to all. Also a huge shout out to our beautiful board members, Indigenous Ways board members. We're excited because all of them are going to be here over the weekend. And also, what's also been possible is you who have really wanted to invest in what we're doing. So thank you for making all of this possible. So this coming Friday, August the 14th, here where we are based, Santa Fe, New Mexico, we have our 14th Indigenous Ways Festival. We started this in 2022 because we wanted to bring all our elders out after the pandemic, so I wanted to do these pop-up festivals. We're very excited. This Friday we have the beautiful Keith Sokola. Anyway, the Indian car. We also have Sage Bond, who is this trained opera singer, and she loves heavy metal, so such a cross section. And then we have the beautiful Levi Platero, who is an incredible blues singer. We are super excited because at 6 o'clock this is going to be opened by our Indigenous Ways ambassadors, James Woodenlegs, who is deaf Northern Cheyenne. He's going to be sharing about the 150 years celebration anniversary at where he's from, Lone Butte Reservation. So he's going to be starting us off in this incredible festival. Please bring your chairs, BYOC, bring your own chairs. Again, this is a free event down at the Santa Fe Rail Yard, Water Tower. We'll be there. There's going to be vendors there. We're just having a great evening, and food vendors. And if you're unable to make it because you live out of state, plan for Indigenous Ways Festival 2027. We would love to see you. If you want to register for the festival or find out more, go to our website, IndigenousWays.org. And lastly, if you want to invest in Indigenous Ways, or why would you want to invest? Because your donation helps keep our festivals free, and also our Wisdom Circle. We have accessibility, as I was saying before, with our ASL interpreters, as well as the ADA, and rooted in Indigenous knowledge. Every gift supports the artists, youth, and community connections, as well as the interns that we have in giving back. So in saying that, I'm going to encourage Tash and Shonto to come back.
Thank you all so much. And we just had our wonderful interpreter, champ interpreter, Sherry Hicks, just came in from San Francisco, and she missed her flight. And one of her best mates here is here visiting from DC. So we have some really wonderful company. And here's her friend,
And then Tosh, there's
And the
also a
person says,
question.
"Hi, I'm visiting out of DC. Good to see
Hello.
you all." Hey, Shonto.
Tosh, there's a question in the chat too. If you want to kick off with that from Emily while we're just
okay. Here's the question: in a society that conditions people to be consumers, what is the key to becoming a creator? I believe it will save one's life. So, also, how can one aim to become a creator? What does being a creator mean? And how would Shanto speak to this? So, Shanto, if you can answer that in about 1 or 2 minutes, there's other questions.
How do you become
Oh,
I guess you just have to be really willing to fully embrace the world through your eyes, experience, and willing to share all of that. For me, how I became an artist because I really wasn't good at anything else. but but I it's a hard question.
yeah. Well,
It's I guess it's just for me it was just growing up in the Hogan full of creators like weavers, medicine people who fashion things for life, for living. These are this is how I became an artist, and of course I've also read a lot. I, I read a lot, and being a very visual person, every book I read it was like a movie. It was visual for me. So
beautiful.
I've always been daydreaming. I've always had things going in my head ever since I was a little kid. Being being creative, being a visionary. Um, I think for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but going back to the healing ceremony, the whole esoteric practice of what we call um, Desti is a
Oh,
for vision quest for healing.
oh,
That's what I did a few times, gazing at the stars of the old guys again, seeking a vision. So
beautiful.
that's where a lot of I felt like I was blessed with that. Also, a sense of that obligation uh, to share, and be part of that. I guess
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you very much for that answer. And let's go to Candy Jones in somewhere up there in New York somewhere. Candy, what's up?
Yate! Yate!
yate,
Right away.
yate, yate,
That's
Yate!
my best friend, Shanto. Candy.
yate.
Oh,
Candy, hey,
it's so nice to meet you. You're very inspiring today. And you're reminding me of my time on Vision Quest in the Canyon de Chelly. When I first started school, we went and did a Vision Quest there with the people, and then did sand training. And I thought about this similarity. I'm a therapist, and we were learning ecotherapy and also healing with sand. And so the similarity struck me later. But to hear about the power of creativity and how healing it is, and what you endured with the schools and being torn away from your culture, and yet have been able to overcome those odds. And it's really inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing your heartfelt story. Beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you, Candy. And let's go to Shah. Shah, what's up?
This is Shaw speaking. Okay, thank you.
Shot.
Me? Okay, what do I say? I will say hello, and definitely, for sure. Shanto talking about the boarding school experience and being deprived of your language, your culture through that experience echoes very much the deaf experience. We go through something similar, so to speak, right? As a deaf person, we're told we have to talk. We can't use our sign language. You can't use your hands to talk. That part of us gets oppressed, right? But that's our natural way to communicate. And so there are many deaf people that have gone through this experience, which is very similar. And things are changing in these times. There's been slow change. Most schools for the deaf do support the use of American Sign Language at this time. So in some ways, I feel like I can definitely relate to what you shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have to keep on the fight. We have to keep educating. We have to keep sharing. And these are things that aren't one time. We have to continuously do them for the rest of our lives. It's work for our whole lives that we have to do.
And I'd also like to add, this is Tasha's voice. Shonto, Shah is Muskogee
Okay.
from Oklahoma and German. And yeah, so so Shaw is also indigenous, and she's amazing. She teaches at the deaf school here in Santa Fe. So almost enough time for one more talk. Who wants to say one more beautiful word to our beautiful brother Shonto Begay? Who wants to speak? Okay, let's go for this gentleman who's got his hand up. Who's that? Who's that?
Hey, Horse Chief, you're muted.
Yeah, Horse Chief, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, hey man. I just listened to your story. I just jumped on, it was really nice to hear what you had to say about like how it was living. Because I also grew up, around a bunch of sheep and the reservation being Navajo, and it was it was really touching to hear, because I don't think I will ever hear that what you said about the sand painting. Like, I will never hear my kids say that, so to witness somebody say that is really beautiful and sacred to me, so I was really glad to hear a part of that story, and that, because I believe in it. I grew up traditional, and I believe in still believe in that way too, so it was really beautiful to hear that story. And thank you for, just a lot of the wise words, Che. So I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Gesho, Horse Chief. Gesho,
Yeah.
Shanto is going to be here at Free Indian Market, so check him out. He's going to be right there by the federal building, right there by the post office. So check him out
Okay.
Saturday.
All right,
He'll be there. Everybody, our time is up. We gotta go. Okay, everybody, thank you.
Thank you. I'll do this. Just want to give a shout out to everyone for blessing us with your time, your synergy, coming in for the beautiful Shonto Begay. Whether you're joining us live now through the Zoom, or you're watching the recording of this, I want to give it up to our two interpreters. We've got Crescesiano Garcia and also Mariah Garcia. But especially we'll look forward to seeing you next month with the beautiful Dr. Tommy Begay. But let's give it up for the extraordinary gift of Shonto Begay!
Let's hear your new song. Let it go. Let it be. Let it go. Let's hear your new song. Let it go. Let it be. Let it go. Let's hear your new